There we go. And we're live. Everybody, thank you very much for turning up, coming to this. I know there's an awful lot does be on a Sunday. I think Jen's live. I think the Atheist Experience is live. And there's a load of stuff live. So anyone here, I really appreciate you coming. And thanks very much. Obviously, big whoop for Spackle, because she's the guest of honour tonight and give up her time to come on. So yeah, if you want to just do a wee quick shill, Spackle, tell everyone who you are and we'll go from there.
Hi, I'm Holly Spackle, and I kind of stumbled onto this community, gosh, about 6-7 years ago, quite a while ago. And my first my first trial by fire was a Brett Keane hangout. And I had an atheist friend who I used to play World of Warcraft for, and he said, oh my gosh, you have to check this out. You have to talk to these people. These people are crazy. And he comes to me because I'm a Christian and says, you need to talk to these crazy internet Christians. And I said, okay. All right. Okay. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay. And he's like, come on in this hangout. You've never used Google Hangouts before? And he's like trying to work me through how to use Google Hangouts. I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't even have an icon out. I'm like a little people figure.
Yeah.
I go into the hangout. And it's Brett Keane, it's Rancam, and it's Nephilim Free, and there's a girl named Befuddled who I later become friends with. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, who are these people? And they're all arguing. And so we have Brett Keane is just like doing his, lazy walrus manatee act.
Yeah.
But it was Rancam that was really going in on my friend. And I said, listen, atheists can have morals. They're saying you're an atheist and therefore you're immoral. And they're just making all these ridiculous claims. And I said, atheists can have morals. This is how they can have morals. And I tried to stand up for him some bit. I know this man to be a moral man, even if he is an atheist. He is still a good man. And so I was trying to be like, no. And then they're like, what are you? And I said, they're like, what's your background? I'm a Christian. Oh yeah, are you a Christian? What kind of Christian are you? And I said, well, I came from a Catholic family that later became Protestant. And so I've had a lot of experience in the churches. I worked in church for 15 years. I'm trying to give them a rundown of like who I am. Okay. And then all of a sudden Nephilim Free is just hooked on, you're a Catholic, and Catholics aren't Christian. And then Rancam's like, no, she's a wannabe atheist because she's defending atheists. Yeah. And then Brett was like, she's just trying to be cool and contrarian. and then eventually it turns into a crazy brawl. And my friend Befuddled sticks up for me, who we weren't friends yet at that time. This is a new person I had just met.
Yeah.
My other friend just said, screw it, and left. And I was like left alone with these people. And Befuddled goes, listen, you have to let her talk and give her side of, how she sees things. And then Brett King kicks her just for saying that. Like, get out of here.
Kicks her for what?
For just standing up just a little bit for me, saying you have to give her a chance to explain her position or why she's saying that. And he just kicks her. And then I'm just like, okay, this is getting crazy. And then eventually, like, they ask me a couple questions. They get mad at the answer. I don't even remember what. They get mad at me. Nephilim still says I'm a Catholic. Rancam still says I'm an atheist. And they kick me. And that was my first hangout, was just an absolute shit show of people kicking people and screaming at them and telling people what they were and who they were. And so that was my first experience.
Yeah, that was something similar I had with Sky when he came in. The paper says that agnostic says this, and I just lit on him. It was like, no, shut your mouth. Don't read and say what the paper says. Ask me. I fucking hate that when people tell you, because you've used a word, what you are. So you would be what's known then, because that was one of the questions I was going to ask you. You would be what was some people in the community referred to as old guard, from the Google Hangouts and back in the day.
I've been around a while. I'm not as old guard as I'd say Sokka's a little bit older than me. But yeah, I have 2 years over McCrae. Just saying. So yeah, I've been around for a while.
Yeah, I know, because there's a few of them have now progressed on to this, and doing this instead, and it seems to have got an awful lot wider now and grown from what it originally was. It's an awful lot easier as well for people to do it. So look at me, just fucking, you want something, get a computer, and any old idiot can be on the screen and talking shite for people to listen to. But so you then found Drag and Skylar and all them in that, or
I found Skylar. Let me think. Who did I find first? Skylar or Drag? I found Skylar first. Skylar and I interacted first. But I would say next I would move from all that craziness to Nadia. So I discovered Nadia, and if you didn't know Nadia, Nadia for years and years and years was part of the Great Debate community as well. And by that I mean the larger encompass, the God debate. Everybody on YouTube, and I saw her, and at the time I felt really bad because I would see Christians attacking her, and it would bother me just because she's transsexual. So you'd have Christian hillbilly come in and just be like, Nadia, you're really a man. You're really a man. And you've already mutilated your genitals, but you need to ask for forgiveness for God because you're going to be headed to hell because you're really a man. And then they would dead name her and stuff like that, and just completely be cruel. And I was just like, oh my God. And so right then and there, I decided, well, somebody needs to represent either liberal or moderate Christianity to some degree, because what I was seeing was all these fundies and extremists and people that were generally cruel, which was not my experience in Christianity. I mean, it is an experience, as in I do have people that in my life still that are kind of like Matt Slick theology and thinking and stuff like that. But at the same time, I also have people in my life that are more moderate and are friendly towards people that have same-sex attraction, or friendly to people that, and they're not there to dehumanize people. And so I thought, well, somebody needs to represent that. And so that's how I got sucked in, is kind of along those lines. But so eventually I got the nerve, after being in other people's hangouts, which were octagons, trial by fire and stuff. Eventually I got the nerve to make a channel. I make a channel and I do interviews kind of like this, because I think people are interesting, and I'd like to start it up again. I'm waiting on somebody to clear their schedule so I can. Because I promised he'd have the 21 slot. He wants to be number 21. But I wanted to say, show your best self to people. And I thought if we could humanize each other, maybe we'd be less mean to each other. And I was extremely idealistic when I started. I was extremely Rogers idealistic. I'm not quite the same anymore. And there's a long stories of what's happened. It's made me a lot more cynical now than I was to start. But I'd say I ended up sweet and innocent. Let's build bridges. Let's be, kumbaya, kind of Shannon Q-ish kind of nature.
It's nice to be nice.
Right. I'm a little bit more I will be nice to you as long as you're nice to me. As soon as you show yourself as either a psychopath, a sociopath, or a cruel person, then I might fight with you. But so I'm a little bit different. Also, something that's changed recently is, I would say, if I was honest about my position now, I would say I've moved from Christianity to a Christian deist, or a classical deist, somebody that says you can take good Christian values from the life of Christ, but I'm along the lines of a deist. I don't think God interacts so much. So, so I have shifted my belief system a bit. So,
well, the more you think about it and the older we get, the more everybody actually finds what's comfortable for themselves. And that's just, with age comes wisdom. Sure, look at Spooky. He's one of the smartest people you know. How old that man must be,
How old? I don't know. I don't know how old Spooky is.
No, well, that's how Sorry, go on ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I would rather be a theist. I would rather have a God that interacts with the world. But I find that a lot of my struggle with Christianity is within the systematic theology of Christianity. So every time I kind of go into systematic theology, I see a major problem with it. Either with original sin has a major problem, complete liberal freedom of choice has a problem, a God that ordains and commands everything. So you go to heaven, you go to hell, that has a problem. I just, within systematic theology, I have so many problems with it, and some of them are less than others, but I think internally I was having a problem making things work. And then you move from okay, oh, I'm not a Calvinist and a Baptist anymore, and I'm not a Catholic. Maybe I can make Orthodox Christianity work, and then there's aspects of Orthodox Christianity I could make work, and aspects I couldn't make work. Because what I'm trying to say is, you want to have a theology that makes sense and then also comports with your reality that you're experiencing. And if you find that it's not, and you're trying to jam it together, you have to throw it out, right?
Yeah.
So if God is good, then God doesn't make people just for the sole purpose of it displaying his wrath and sending them to hell. That's ridiculous. Either God is evil or neither good or bad, and he's this ambiguous thing. But like the whole idea of eternal damnation just never made sense. like it doesn't make sense. Like, and then what would happen is like these descriptions of who God is. Well, God is just, God is love, God is this, God is that, omnibenevolent. And then also God creates eternal punishment, even if you just tell a white lie. You don't have to murder somebody. You don't have to cause a world war. If you tell a white lie, you can end up in eternal damnation if you don't believe in Jesus. And if you were born not in the United States, but born in India, well, fuck you too. Like I couldn't make it work. I wanted to make it work. And then you go, okay, well, maybe let me move to universalism, and that there's a restoration of all things. And that, when Jesus sacrifices his life, then it's for everybody. And then there'll be a restoration of all things. Like, that's probably the best form of cosmic justice I could think of, right?
Yeah.
But then it clashes with so much of the systematic theology. So I don't know. I think internally I was finding that I was imploding. So, and this is after years and years and years of really trying to find a system that works and comports to reality, and also the aspects that we're assigning to God. God is love, God is just, all these things. Except when we challenge it and go, well, I don't think it's just, let's pick out Samuel. I don't think it's just that King David picks a woman who he sees bathing, sleeps with her, uses his power as a king. I doubt she can say no. Uses her power as a king to sleep with her, impregnates her, goes, oh crap, I'm going to be caught. Tries to convince her husband to sleep with her, so that way the pregnancy is pinned on the husband, and he's covered, right? When the guy says, no, I can't do that, my men are on the front lines, like, this is, I could never do that to them. He goes, oh, well, damn it, too bad, you're such a good ethical man, I have to put you to the front lines, tell the people to fall back, get you killed, murdered by proxy. And then Samuel confronts him and says, look what you've done. And he's remorseful and he's sad and whatever, but he still gets a punishment laid upon him. It says, then God, kills his infant son. So baby's born, suffers for 7 days, and then dies. And that's considered cosmic justice. And I said, well, that's not loving. That's not just. That's not, that doesn't make any sense. And so when I challenge it, I get the big slapdown of like, well, who are you to call God just or unjust just because your man's perspective or human perspective can't see further enough? So now I'm at the point where it's like, well, our perspective of God, you know what, you have a point, but these traits that we're assigning God are completely meaningless. Like, they mean nothing. Like, what I would call just doesn't mean anything anymore. Like, you've just taken the meaning out of it. Like, what are you talking about? So I don't know. Like, I have trouble kind of making that fit in the personalities of God, and the traits that they're assigning completely start to make no sense. And then when you talk to people that are trying to be apologists and stuff like that, well, they say like things like, well, you're trying to I can never say that word, anthropomorphize God, make him into a human.
No, like Jesus is his Halloween outfit. They just got the dates wrong.
Yeah. And I'm like, but the Bible chooses to use these traits, and then the theology makes it useless. It makes it meaningless. It doesn't mean anything, right? So internally, it's imploded, and it's less to do with the external arguments that atheists make, and more to do with this internally. It's problematic with the experiences that we have as human beings. So.
Thank
That was
you.
a whole mouthful. Sorry.
Well, it answers the question. It's where are you and where's your stance? At least now everybody's got a full idea of exactly where you are. Do you mind me asking how long ago that was that you went from what you would consider theist to deist?
I would say it started to happen last year, but I would say that I'd kept waffling from theist to deist. I'm like, And then I found out that you can be a deist and believe that God sometimes interacts with the world, which is interesting. So, because I was kind of waffling on that, how much does God interact with the world? Mostly never,
Yeah.
you know. And so I'm at the point where it's more accurate to call me a classical deist like Thomas Paine or Jefferson than to say that I'm a Christian. Though I could say I'm a Christian and still fall in that social category, but then I think it's cheating. It's the same reason why I don't like to call Mormons Christian. Like I think they're their separate thing. So that might be too strict.
Yeah, well, no, you can get down in that. And Christian is a big, giant, broad brush. It really is. It encompasses so much. So anybody who follows Christ or follows Jesus is instantly a Christian. It is a very big, broad brush, and it puts everybody under an umbrella that they may not necessarily fit. So I can understand that with Mormonism. You could maybe put them under a cult as well, and it depends on what way you look at it. You see, I have very similar views as yourself, but I would it's hard for me to say deist, which is why I would always say agnostic and try and sit in that fence because I don't know, and it is something that is an internal, not confliction in me, but it is something that I generally think about nearly every day. It is on my mind. It's one of those topics. Fuck me. It's why we're here. It's why we're doing this. And it is, but it's hard for me. Like, obviously, it would be nice. Everybody wants these things, and it would be lovely to meet your dead grandparents and all your cats and dogs again. And, it would be nice to have that. But just because it's nice to have it doesn't mean that it's necessarily true. Like, would you consider yourself a believer in heaven then as well, or?
I think there's an argument that the soul or your a mind could go on in some way. I just don't think there's streets of gold. I never really thought that. I never thought there was like a literal streets of gold and mansions. but I think if there is an afterlife, then the creator in the mind that would create the universe would set it up in a way that there would be some sort of restoration. It wouldn't be now the most evilest person in the world is hanging out with the best person in the world. Mr. Rogers is hanging out with Stalin,
Yeah.
Like I have a feeling that there would be some sort of restoration of people becoming the best that they could be as humans or people, but who knows, if what's weird about me is the appeal to eternity for me would only be meeting your family or somebody that you lost, or a child. Like I had a miscarriage, a child that you lost or something like that. Like that's the appeal to having an afterlife or a restoration of something that's been broken in a relationship or something like that. Like that's an appeal for me. Cosmic justice is an appeal, so to speak, in the mind of like a theist, right? Yeah. But I never thought hell was justice, like restoration is justice. Like that's the best form of justice. So that's an appeal, but living on and on and on and on forever, I don't think you'd be bored if there would be a job to do, but
Tedious. It would take the enjoyment out of it.
Who was it? Ingmar Bergman, who directed The Seventh Seal. If you're a movie buff, I believe it was him that said, "Oblivion is bliss." to go to nothing is, you were nothing before, you'll be nothing afterwards. That's not that scary to me.
Yeah, well, I was asked that question the other day. What was my stance, and I said agnostic. Now the person themselves was also agnostic, and they asked me, what my opinion on hell was. It was just in the chat, and I was like, well, I don't think there's actual flames and burning, but it's probably the same as what it was before you were born.
Oblivion. Yeah. Yeah. If anything, it would be, there's a position in Christianity called annihilationism, which I held at one point, which was that your eternal soul or eternal life would be granted, after Judgment Day, if X thing happened, if God decides to grant it.
Yeah.
If not, it would be, you're gone. You're just annihilated. That's it. It's oblivion. It wouldn't matter. So that position makes more sense than eternal fire and the worm that would not die, and the gnashing of teeth, and the suffering forever burning in the lake of fire. All that things that like Jenny for Christ wishes upon people that make her upset. Like, it doesn't make sense. That's not justice. That's not just at all.
For the longest time, it was hard for me. Well, I wouldn't say it was hard for me because I was trying to and it struggled with or anything. But for the longest time, what I felt comfortable with is something very similar to where you would stand now with the deistic point of view. I don't know if you've heard of the Akashic field. I don't know whether it's real or it's made up or whatever. It does be in an awful lot of scientific or sci-fi shows, but it's like an internal energy where your conscious goes to, and you're just part of it again. You know?
Oh yeah. So pandeism has kind of a. So there's a part of pandeism, and I'm probably gonna murder it. I want to say, if you've ever met Lolly Lou or Lolly Lydia, her name's Lydia. Lydia and her sign-on's like Lolly, and she's been in a lot of hangouts and stuff in the past, in the old days. She's got like a tree figure. She's on Facebook. If you ever want to interview her, she's interesting. But I think she kind of veers towards this agnostic towards God, but then there's sort of like this shared consciousness of the universe thing going on.
Yeah, like a good Borg.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not trying to take over anything or do anything. It's all where, like, obviously, as I've said, that the sci-fi shows take advantage of it. They're like, oh, I've tapped into the Akashic field and Einstein knew of it and that's where this knowledge came from and all. I don't believe that, obviously, but, some sort of, it would be the whole energy thing, but without being into the woo and crystals and stones and all that shit. I know that that's all bullshit, but that was where I stood for an awful long time.
I don't think it'd be a bad fate. But who knows?
Yeah, well, it'd still be nice to people, still be good to people, and it's not like you're acting as if God exists. It's just nice to be nice. It's good to help people. If you can do something, I don't see the fucking harm. I don't see the problem in actually going out of your way and well, maybe not even going out of your way, especially if you don't have to go out of your way, and just helping someone.
I think it always scares me when a Christian apologist says, if it wasn't for Jesus, or if it wasn't for, the 10 Commandments, you'd be out there murdering and raping, and you're just like, because you can't derive any sense of morality outside of Scripture. That scares me.
Ray Comfort, Ray Comfort and is it Ken Ham's son or Kent Hovind's son? One of them, son and Ray Comfort, had an interview where they both said that exact thing, sitting beside each other. Yeah,
that's creepy as all get out. Like, you're telling me that if you were on an island and you weren't ever like shown, the gospel, that you wouldn't have some sort of set of morals that would be beneficial to yourself and the community, no. But I think that goes with the mentality of, how Christian missionaries would be like the savage, this idea that if you weren't Christianized, you're just a savage.
Look what that happened. Look what
it's
that
really
did.
Creepy.
Yeah, look what happened to that guy there a couple of months ago. Fella very similar to Holy Kool-Aid. Went to that island. And anyone doesn't know, go and look up Holy Kool-Aid. That's a good episode to start with. It shows you where he came from, and he goes over his, he travelled around and was a minister, a minister's son or preacher's son or missionary son. That's the word I'm looking for, missionary son. And if he hadn't left the faith, he said to himself that could have been him. Go and take your religion to someone who doesn't want to listen to it. They'll fucking spear you.
No, well, and it's not just that. They don't know why you're there either.
Yeah.
I mean, all they know is that you look pretty threatening. So I always feel bad for people that I see it kind of both ways. So a missionary is usually going there thinking, I need to save souls, right? So especially if they believe in eternal damnation, that it's important, and it's important to save souls, and so they're willing to take the risk. But at the same time, it's like, you're sitting there going, wow, that was really dumb. It's illegal for one, but it's also dumb. But from the point of view of like a Christian, if I put on like a fundamentalist hat, or anybody that believes in conditionalism, which is the belief that there's a hell, I can tell you that it is an altruistic act. Like in their mind, they want to save you from eternal punishment. So the results are bad, but
they're trying to do a good thing.
Right.
I do apologize. I've got a wee bit of a cold. Daughter's picked up one up where she lived, and bloody wee things give it to me, and wee bit of a cold. So I apologize for the coughing.
Yeah.
But that's it, in their mind, because they've grown up in that mentality, and the fact that you're leaving everything that they think of. The human brain has a wonderful ability to compartmentalize, and they just, everything in its own context seems true, and they don't really need to put it all together. When people do, that's how they end up, like yourself or like me, or even on the internet just talking about it. But we compartmentalize, and then they don't know, they don't push it, they just accept everything. So they don't see that they're doing anything wrong. They're literally just, they are trying to save you. And
yeah, it's tough. I guess for me, when I look at somebody that is a conditionalist and they approach me, and I'm told I'm going to hell all the time because I'm the B in LGBTQ, I'm going to hell. Because I defend people that are in LGBTQ, I'm going to hell. And now that I've kind of moved to more of a deistic stance, I'm going to hell.
Yeah.
But I was going to hell already because I was already considered a heretic by so many people. So
we've got like 3 heretics in the chat right now.
I'm not saying all that to be a martyr or something like that. I think I'm telling that to say that how offended I get about that depends on how you're wielding that, right? So
the context.
If somebody's worried for me, I'm worried for you because, X, and there's a consequence for X. I've been kinder to those folks. So I think I had a long conversation with one of Matt Slick's friends on the farm server, and he was very down the earth, earthy, not an internet apologist. And he's just like, I'm worried for you for X reason. And we kind of were ping-ponging back and forth. I didn't have any problem with him. But when G-Man laughs maniacally and tells me I'm gonna burn in the lake of fire, I have a problem with him. Yeah. See, like I see there's a difference in attitude. One wants some sort of weird cosmic justice that he sees. That's just freaking evil. It's just revenge. See, and it's bizarre.
I don't know if anyone's heard me use this phrase or was here the night we were playing Quiplash, and Holy Spackle said it to me, but she considers me something a bit of a Switzerland, and as much as that's a nice compliment, I was annoyed about that for a while. I was like, no.
Why were you upset about it?
But, well, as you said at the very start, you started off doing the interviews, you were nice, you try to be nice and all the rest of it. Then as time goes on, you've got your own opinions. I obviously have my own opinions, and I'm trying, in certain circumstances, I could agree with people that other people don't agree with, like my stance on John, Messenger Reveals. I don't think that there's anything wrong with my stance on him or what he goes along with, and the things that I've said that I agree with, because that's something similar that I've experienced and been through, and that's fine, and I'm happy enough to talk about that. There is also other things that, my opinion I don't want to put out there. My friends know, the inner circle knows, and
right.
You have to get to the point where you want to put your opinion out there. Some people not in the chat, but some people out there I think are assholes, and you still have to be nice to them, because you want them to come on. I don't have to be nice to an
asshole. You know who you are. But it takes me a while before I actually start to snap on somebody and be like, you were a complete jerk. I'll use an example. I'll actually name a name. Anti-Ordinary put out a video that was critical of me putting out a video. I don't hate Anti-Ordinary. I don't dislike her. I think she's funny. I've kept a very neutral stance. Just because you're critical of me, you know, or a situation that involves me, like, it doesn't mean that I hate you. You know, I think she's quite funny. I could say a lot of good things. You know, I'll keep her kind of in the neutral zone. It takes a build up and a huge mosaic of things for me to have a problem with you. So, godless girl, I have a problem with you, but she knows it, right? And she hates me, and we have some of the most brutal interactions ever possible, because she's an evil person. Like if there's a good and evil dynamic,
see, I would be the same. Once I'm pushed, I'd be your best friend, your worst enemy. And you know, I'll do anything for you and bend over backwards for you and do as much as I can for you. But if you fucking cross me, you will regret it. I've mentioned, I think, before in the chat or in the channel, and a few people know it, but there quite recently, there's a new guy started that's 18, and I'm doing my job 20 years November past, and he's telling me how to do my job, and he's in the job 3 months. And I mentioned to one of the regional managers, I was like, see this boy here, he's pushing my fucking buttons. He's really starting to push my buttons. And about maybe 3 weeks ago, about 2 months ago, he went on holiday, and I told him to think about the way he spoke to me when he was on holiday enjoying himself, or I would smash his head in with a bar.
Oh, whoa. You did that to a coworker?
Yes.
Oh my God. I would be fired, by the way, if I said that to my coworker.
He then went on holiday and come back and was calm for a couple of days, and then he said something to me, and I literally lost the rag, and I told him to shut his mouth or he'd regret it, and he didn't. So I walked over and I grabbed him by the scruff of the neck and sort of pinned him up against the machine, and I considered smacking him in the face, and then, right, can't do this, so then stopped and walked away. Now, in saying that, it is a bit of a male thing, and it's a bit chauvinistic and stuff, but it really has cleared the air. And
just kidding.
Oh no! Honest to fuck, the man's bought me breakfast and everything since that incident.
I mean, if I thought it solved anything, I mean, would you MMA fight Cheshire or Godless? Maybe for charity, maybe.
It
but
may
I don't
be
think
a male
really
thing. It may be a male thing, but I really do find that it does, you know. And that was building for a while, and me and him had conversations with the regional manager, and the whole thing that was discussed before was discussed again afterwards. But when the ruckus happened, the incident as it was referred to, that cleared the air, you know, and it was done, and that was it, over and done with now. And it is.
I don't think it would clear the air with women. I think the loser would be even more resentful. I think with guys, it's like, okay, done and done. And I think a girl would be like, and I hate you for life. I don't know. I think it's just a little bit different. I don't know. Yeah,
no, it is. That's it, done and done now. It's done and dusted, as we would say. That is a phrase that I used at the time. I says it's done and dusted. He said sorry. I said sorry. We've cleared the air. We now know where each other's limits are. It's done and dusted.
Yeah. But also, I think there's certain kind of jobs where you can get away with that. And are you in Ireland or Scotland? I can't tell. I want to say Ireland.
I'm in Northern Ireland, and I'm of Scottish descent. So it's Ulster Scots.
That's why you're hard to. That's why you're hard to peg.
Yeah, I'm technically an Ulster Scot.
Okay. So my grandpa was a boater. He had the Irish accent and everything like that, and like, it seems like it's culturally acceptable, and maybe still. I don't know. It was definitely back then. It was culturally acceptable to get into a fight for getting into a fight's sake, or to settle a problem. And I feel like that's not really acceptable anymore. I'm not sure.
My father, or my biological father, well, I say that like it's derogatory. He was there for like 11 years of my life before him and my mum broke up, and he's still there now. He lives like, you know, I could stand on my roof and hit his house with a stone. It's one of the reasons I live here. We talk now and stuff, but my stepfather's been there longer than he has, and sometimes I say daddy sometimes I say father, and he's my father when I mean my stepfather. But my biological father went to the same school as my mother, and he went over to see what the fight was. My ma was having a fight with someone else, and he went over to see what the crack was. And that's how my father seen my mother for the first time. She was beating someone up.
Oh, wow. She was beating someone up?
Yes. Well, there was a fight and she was winning. I don't think she was a bully. There was a fight and she was winning.
That's the woman for me. She can fight. That's funny.
Oh yeah, yeah. You don't fucking mess with my ma. She'll kick your ass. Right. On that note, before I dig myself into a hole that Lucy Luxor will make fun of me for, Holy Spackle, if you could entertain the crowd for all of 2 minutes. My dog, every single time I go on stream, he just sits beside me and stares at me. It's like as soon as he sees me talking, he's like, "You must now let me out," and I have to interrupt the stream. He's worse than Jill. He's worse than Jill. So I will leave it up to you. Go. It's only a minute or two.
Ask me a non-complex question. We have 2 minutes. So if you're in the crowd, ask me a question, and I will try to give you a decent answer. I feel like I need to fill in the sound, like do 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 do. Yeah. You don't want me to dance. I'll be like, this is how I drive, and dust it off, like the boobs, and then this is how I stir my soup. No, you don't want me dancing. It's bad. It's really bad. Notice me, senpai. Oh, exiled. I noticed you right away. Holy Spackle, why do you hate God so much? Tyler Durden asks. I don't hate God. I hate dogma, and I hate piety. I hate cruelty because you're so pious, right? So, like, imagine applying the categorical imperative. I cannot tell a lie, and it's always wrong to tell a lie. And imagine misapplying it because you're so pious that you turn over a Jew that's hiding in your attic. I can't stand piety that is actually harmful, or dogma that is actually harmful. I don't hate God. I hate the red tape people put around it.
I'm back. Yeah, I was going to say something just on the end of that comment. It's not that you hate God, it's you hate the people that stand up for God sometimes and what they say and do.
Exiled says, be nice to call center workers. I agree. Call center work is tough. It's called emotional labor, and it causes depression, and most people can't last past 2 years. So be nice to them. Absolutely.
I do talk to them and say yes and all that, and say, no, sorry, you've got the wrong person, and then hang up on them.
Spooky asked, do I play the ukulele? No, I do not play the ukulele. I have one in storage somewhere.
Do you?
But it's more my husband's than mine. I find it awkward because it's tuned differently than a guitar. I do play the guitar and I do play the bass. And don't laugh, but I was in church worship band for like several years.
Bass is good. If I could play any instrument, it would be the ukulele or the bass. That's. I can't play guitar. My hands aren't big enough. I do prefer the sound of the bass over the guitar, but I think the ukulele would more, or a banjo. Ukulele or a banjo would suit my personality better.
I don't have very big hands. Like, this is not very big. This is a smaller phone. It's not the large phone. And I can play guitar. You just need a headstock that has a smaller grip around it. So like my acoustic guitar is a Paul Reed Smith guitar, and Paul Reed Smith makes it so that way it's flatter, so that when you reach around, you're not completely. And so because it's flatter, it feels almost like you're holding an electric guitar versus an acoustic, and you can reach around. So if you wanted to play guitar, you just get one that has a easier neck.
I have
so that way you don't
3 or 4 people try and teach me guitar. One of them's in a very good band and actually winds his own pickups for the guitar based on a humbucker and sold to a few famous bands. And it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. I don't know. I don't know. It's just.
Can you build things? Do you have a secret talent? Like, do you build things, or do you?
I don't sleep. I don't sleep very often, so it gives me an opportunity to learn an awful lot. I can build you a Discord server in about 15 minutes flat.
Yeah, you're tech savvy. You can do that quicker than I can. And I helped build the Dragoon server, but it took me a lot longer, and I needed a lot more help to like finish the edges.
I've just met
Tyler Durden was one of them.
There's a wee bot that clones for you. See, there's a bot called Extra Cord that clones. So I just sat and made a perfect one with all the basic permissions, and then when somebody wants one, I just add what channels they want and what extras they want, change the names around, and then give it to them, and it's all... Yeah, it's total cheat. It's a complete cheat, but everybody thinks I'm fantastic at it, so we'll go with that. I'm a mechanic by trade, like I work with cars, but background in maths, obviously a bit of physics and stuff. But I like to learn. It's nice to learn. It's nice to mess about with stuff, and if you don't break it, you'll not know how to fix it. So it's good to fuck about with things.
Yeah. Like I had to resolder my connection to my Yeti recently, and the reason why I knew that is because I used to work at Radio Shack for a few years. So, you just kind of learn how to, pick up things and stuff. But I would say that I'm not as good with my hands. My husband's really good. He can build almost anything, and he does drones as a hobby and stuff like that. And I'm a little more artsy, and like I'm into music and drawing and anything that's a bit creative, I enjoy. But I'm not like brilliantly great at anything, and that's the problem. I don't sit down and focus long enough. I kind of dabble in everything. We both like the outdoors, though. We have a Jeep, and that can go almost anywhere. It's like a spaceship on wheels. You want to go somewhere that's like open land. You can hop in your Jeep, and boom, you can go camp in the middle of nowhere without anybody there, and it's pretty fun. So,
as a funny side note, I would probably specialise in the tire section. I would recommend Kumo MT51s, mud terrain. Them things I sold them to a guy that does off-roading, and he has 12 Jeeps. He put them in one, and he then kitted the entire... And these things do 45 degrees up the mountains. No, you can't stop them. No,
we're not in the mud so much. So like in our terrain, it's trails, and so like it's so Anza Borrego's down by me, and so you got the desert, or you can swing up to Laguna, and there's the mountains, and there's all these trails. So you kind of have.
See, American rules are different than we have over here in tires and stuff. Like it's a completely different market and different grounds. You have harder compounds and over there, and tires. Mm-hmm. It's just...
East Coast, West Coast too. So like we're West Coast. So West Coast, it's all dry and deserty and stuff like that and rocky. But when I look at like my husband's like into the off-roading YouTube side, right? So yeah. he does not like all this nonsense. He's like, I don't want to talk about God. I don't want to talk about religion. I think you guys are crazy.
Sounds exactly like my woman, yeah.
He loves the off-road channels and the camping channels and things like that, and exploring, and those are fun to watch. And he's been part of that community for a while. And so that has been interesting because there's like no drama there. So it's just people just like, I don't care, who you are. They're just out there to have fun and enjoy the outdoors. So.
Yeah, well, I would be more of an outdoorsy sort of person. For my birthday, the girlfriend asked me what I wanted to do, and I just wanted to go to my local forest, buy the daughter a new set of welly boots, and go off path and walk the rivers. And we did that all day. Me and the daughter stopped at a wee shallow part and built like a wee dam out of stones, and I've loads of pictures of that. I love doing that stuff. We went off track quite recently, a couple of months ago, and found a tree trunk that was completely engrossed in mushrooms. It looked like a mushroom farm, and you'd never have found it, unless you go off track. And the fact that you go off road, as your husband does, even you see things and you can get to places and do things that are just fuck you. You ain't never doing this because you're of a caravan and a Range Rover, and you can't get here.
Yeah, like I've explored mines. I've seen like bighorn sheep up close, things like that. Like that's an endangered sheep here. You can see condors, really cool stuff. The California condor almost was extinct, which the San Diego Zoo was part of bringing that back, which actually I've worked there too. The San Diego Zoo was part of bringing the condor back. And now I think there's like at least 1,000 strong, like And what was killing the condor was interesting. It was a lot to do with ammunition. So people would go to the desert, fire off rounds of ammunition, and the condor would get confused and, I guess, eat the ammunition, the shells and stuff. I'm like, I don't know. The condor's not that bright. Maybe he needs to die. I don't know. But I'm just kidding. He doesn't need to die. But for some reason, birds sometimes eat strange things. And one of the things that they were eating was shells and things like that are from, people going out shooting. So
yeah,
that's too bad.
Shooting's quite big in the rural community here. They would still go out and do clay pigeon shooting and, hunting rabbits and things like that there. And there's different types of shells. And we were actually talking about this the other day because they would used to do it on Christmas. They would go out after their Christmas dinner and fire a couple of shells. And be honest, he admitted to me by the end of it, they've usually had a few too many to drink and they should not be using all the guns. But that's... yeah, it's what happens. But he was pissed off because one of the guys brought the plastic ones rather than the clay shells, because the clay shells they dissolve back into the ground, and the plastic ones, after you destroy them, you have to fucking walk around and pick them up, or the animals will eat them.
Yeah, that's not good.
yeah, they were obviously cheaper.
Well, I get it when people leave their shells. So as you're using a gun and the shell flies out, they're not picking it up. They're just leaving it. I'm like, pick it up, for God's sake. It's not that hard. Get a bucket and pick it up. What's wrong with you?
Oh, well, they would pick up the shells because they're right there. I'm talking about the actual clays. Whenever they explode them, there's to go looking for the bits of plastic. Fuck that shit. I'm pissed. I've been playing with guns all day. I've been feeling like a man. I'm not going to go and clean up things. That's the sort of mentality of it.
Yeah, I've been clay shooting. It's quite fun. I think... I ended up with this huge bruise with the shotgun. So I had one that was a 22, and that didn't do anything to me. There was no kickback or anything like that. It was just, no big deal.
rifle, yeah.
Yeah. And then I tried a 12 gauge, and I was like, no. This is quite painful. I ended up with a huge bruise, between my shoulder and armpit area, this nasty, huge, just disgusting.
Well, I just have just a shotgun and an air rifle. I do enjoy the air rifle. I've got decent enough with it. I have a target that I've had for years. I also have a bow, a Safari 2 compound bow. I took that up for a wee while when I was younger, but then it got too expensive because you kept losing the arrows. They would bury themselves into the ground or something. You're like,
some people make their own arrows, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you could probably do that now. I'm a wee bit older and things like that. I could probably do that now. Wee bit extra effort. And no, I just like to learn. It's nice to play and take up hobbies and stuff. I mentioned is Doorknob Head still in the chat? He probably is. Yes. Me and him were talking the other day. The interview with what do you call the radio guy that's bald that has everybody on? Joe Rogan.
Oh.
Joe Rogan. No. Joe Rogan's interview with the guy that runs Tesla.
Oh, I can't remember his name.
Yes, but you know who I'm talking about. I think it's 16 minutes into the interview. He describes it's his brain's constantly firing and he must always be doing something. That's pretty much how I feel. That's why I don't mind helping people. It gives me something to do. It fills my time. I don't like sitting still. I'm always.
You can't go idle, huh?
No, I cannot go idle. No, fuck no. I have to always be doing something, always be keeping my hands busy. And so if people need a hand, it's fine, Axel asked earlier in the chat, Axel, are you on Discord? If you're not on Discord, email me and we'll get in contact if you need one. It's no problem. I'll just give you one. You don't need any money or anything. Elon Musk, thank you very much, Rory. Elon Musk.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah. It's always it would be great that you're doing that. And it's no, because it doesn't switch off. Sometimes it can get to the point where it just gets annoying.
Almost anxiety, pented up energy. My husband's a bit like that. He was diagnosed with ADHD though, which might be a thing. But he has trouble sitting down. He has to do something. So he'll watch TV. He loves he loves, like, like I was mentioning YouTubers, like with the off-roading stuff on all that community, and we kind of watch the Tim Tracker and all the people that do like the amusement park things and stuff like that, and because we love Disneyland, it's right by us, so and there's people that have those kind of channels and stuff, and so he'll watch that stuff, but he's always doing something while he's watching it. He can't just sit like I can. I can sit for hours.
No.
I can be such a fucking sloth. I can be so bad. But he's like, he gets all twitchy and weird. And so, like, he'll be sitting there, like, fixing drones and stuff like that because he likes to do that as a hobby. And he's, with the mask and
my brother does it. Yeah, my brother does it. They really get into it. Whatever you do when they have the mask on, do not make them have to walk. I went over to the brother one time and pushed him like 3 foot. He nearly had a heart attack. Like, it was like, no, don't do that shit.
Oh my gosh.
It was really good. Just as a side note, because I love the dollar, he flew down one time with a drone and got it to come down and stop right, dead in front of her, and she near shit herself. She was so amazed by it. She like followed him for the next 45 minutes until the battery died. No, tell you like, not the battery died. All 8 of his battery dies. Them things chew batteries.
Oh yeah, and the thing is like I feel so awkward driving like a drone because I don't want to crash. I get so like, these things are kind of expensive, and yeah, you can rebuild them, but it's like like, and I'm like like I'm not very good at it.
It's so sensitive. They're so sensitive. So you don't understand, because I was all he went. I was like, look, just give me a go. Give me the fucking thing and give me a go. He's like, you'll crash it. I just finished building this like 2 days ago. Give me the fucking thing. Give me the fucking thing. And as soon as he gave it to me, and he was like, right, just test the up and down. And he had it sort of, hover, and he'd put the auto hover mode on. And I was like, right, up, and touched up and went, fuck. And it disappeared. Like, they are so sensitive. Oh.
Did it crash?
No, it just went straight up. I just did the up and down one. Just to get the hang of the sensitivity. Yeah. That's exactly it. That was where my head went. Where the fuck did that go? Like,
did you have the whole mask and everything?
No, I didn't put the mask on. I was just trying to get it to move, in and around the area. We were in an open area in the middle of a forest, and I was just sort of up and down and getting the hang of it very, very slow. He can take it up to like 30 and 40 mile an hour and do loop-the-loops, and yeah, you give him a football pitch, he can do some mad tricks with it. He's thinking of taking up the drone racing.
Oh yeah, so they have the little racing track and they have flags, and then they'll do FPV and they'll do the racing or like an obstacle course. And you have to be really good for that stuff. Like it's a lot of agility, so to speak, with the craft, and it's interesting. I think photography drone is interesting. We do have a Spark, and that's pretty fun. So I might end up getting more into outdoor stuff, just filming and stuff like that, because I enjoy the creative aspects, and it's a little bit less stressful than this community. So I'm not saying I'm leaving. I'm just saying that it might be nice to have something that is a little less contentious sometimes to involve myself in sometimes. So
see, that's why you'll not get me on a Monday. That's why I don't really get stressed too much by this community, because I just take a day off and just ignore it. And my phone, like, I don't have any noises for Discord as much as I do be on Discord. That's my constant lifting and looking and checking. That's maybe not OCD or whatever. I wouldn't go so far as saying that. People use it far too much. It's just a nervous habit possibly, or a twitch. But I just set the phone down and don't go near it for 2 hours, and I have the ability to do that and just leave the phone alone, spend some time with the family or whatever. On Monday I sleep. That's what I do on a Monday, because I generally don't sleep maybe more than 3 hours any other night. So I sleep on a Monday. Pardon?
The recovery day, your day of rest?
Yes, it is my day of rest. I will eat a massive dinner and aim for Christmas dinner stuffing, or not Christmas dinner full stuffed, You've eaten that much, you must sleep in front of a raging fire. And then I'll do that for 10 hours and just sleep. And that's my day of rest. Have nothing to do
with it. Well, that's why you have so much energy. You have a whole day of rest, and then you go completely crazy.
yeah. Well, it's just the way my sleep pattern has been like that for maybe 11 or 12 since high school. I was an insomniac for a wee while. I think the 3 days was the longest I went without sleep, and it's not good for you, you know. But it's been that long that my body's just got used to it now. So
I used to have sleep problems that were pretty bad. So like honesty time. So I struggle with general anxiety disorder and depression. So, and I've had childhood trauma and all sorts of things that have triggered that. But that being said, it's treated, right? Like, so I see a therapist and I'm on medication, but it wasn't until I went on Prozac and kind of got the anxiety level down to a manageable rate. Because what was happening was I'd get so anxious, especially at night, I would not be sleeping. And so I would have like day 4, I haven't slept a wink. And then after like 4 days of not sleeping, it makes you crazy. And so it makes you really weird. Like mood swings galore and just kind of little problems suddenly become big problems. And so I'm not much of a crier or anything, and I'm not much of a rager, but like things would bring me down. So like, you know, you're anxious and you're wild, and then the big problem becomes, this is how life always is. And then you get depressed, and it's like this weird cycle that spirals you down. So now that that's done, I'm sleeping normal. I sleep like 9 hours a night, you know, it's no big deal. Like, but like, yeah, if you find that you have insomnia, it is going to affect how you are. like there might be a reason for it, so definitely mention that to your GP. So now no more insomnia. I'm good now.
It's just the way I've always been. I went to the doctors and back and forth when I was a kid, and in all honesty, the only place I could ever sleep was English class. That was it. She fucking bored the tears of me.
Well, that's the thing. Well, one of my tricks is if I can't sleep, sometimes I can put on a not completely boring blog or not blog, podcast, but one that sort of like gets you thinking, but eventually you kind of drift off. And my friend showed me this podcast called 99%.
Sorry, your friend showed you?
A podcast called 99% Invisible. And so they would talk about random things like, oh, did you know that San Francisco is built on a pile of trash? Or did you know that this modern day coffee table came from this movement and this artist? And, you know, or did you know that there was a telephone booth in the middle of the Mojave Desert that people would call? And so I'd listen to this, and you'd get these random facts and stuff, but it would put me to sleep. And so I was like, this is like the perfect podcast just to kind of go story time, night, you know. So
in saying that now, what annoys really, as they would say, grinds her gears, if we went on like a long flight or, you know, somewhere like that, probably because I don't sleep as much, I have the ability, you know, like if we were doing a 10-hour flight, whenever we went to America, I was asleep on the plane before the plane actually took off and was woken by the girlfriend as proof to her friend that I'm already asleep. No, he's faking it. No, he's fucking asleep, like. Yeah, and woke me.
We gotta get off the plane.
Yeah, so I can fall asleep at the drop of a hat, which is probably due to exhaustion maybe, but it's a nice handy skill to have if you're doing a long journey or traveling or you need to kill some time, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't do very well sleeping on planes. I'm not like a mess on it, like, oh my gosh, we're just gonna die. I'm not like that. But like I'm very highly aware that we're flying through the air at a half like incredible speed, and we're very high. Like I am aware of that, and so I end up kind of being alert, but like I end up like going, okay, let's see what's out the window. And so unless it's a night flight, like I'll be awake. Like, and maybe a night flight, maybe I could fall asleep because then I can't really see much out the window. But I don't know. I did take a night flight. I flew to Colorado, and I was like, ooh, shinies, you know. So I don't know. Shiny cities over there. Ooh, lightning. Like I don't.
Most of the time we don't go on big long holidays. Me and the woman would go once a year. We would go to Amsterdam. We're probably due to go now in the next couple of months, and it's only something like an hour and 10 minutes. You know, it's you read a newspaper or read a couple of chapters of a book, and you're there. It's a very short flight, and then you get off, and the hotel that we stay at is the very first stop, and the train station's in the airport. So you just walk down a flight of stairs, get one stop on the train, and you're there. It's so handy. Like we could leave my house and within 3 hours we could be in the well, maybe no, if we didn't have to go through security in the fucking airport. But if we went straight and didn't have to mess about with that, it's only like 3 hours of travel between my house and Amsterdam.
Amsterdam. Now, Amsterdam has a reputation, though. Like, have you ever gotten in trouble in Amsterdam?
I've been with people that have, but I personally haven't. I've only ever really had fantastic experiences there. Even, with meeting homeless people and just sitting and talking with them for a while. Or me and the girlfriend went once, and I like dives, as she would call it. I like going to the little pub with the locals, no matter where we go. If we went down south, I'd try and find the smallest little pub with a little fire and some man that's been going there for 60 years playing a guitar in the corner. That's freezing and does the worst beer and drink ever, but the atmosphere is fantastic. That's the sort of place that I like, and she would be more, not go so far as mainstream, but, she likes her comforts. She likes to know that there's going to be a toilet seat when she goes to the toilet.
That does matter a lot. I mean, you can really practice on the hover technique if you need to, but like it's not preferable. But then again, like bar toilets in general aren't preferable, so I don't know.
Our second last night, the one time that we did go to America, the taxi driver did know us because it was like a taxi driver per area. We were just up the road. It was like the Sheldon. It was just up the road from Disney World, or not Disney World. Was it Disney World? Yeah, Disneyland, Disney World, whatever it is in Florida, in Orlando.
Disney World. Yeah.
It was on that street. It was like a timeshare my dad had for a couple of years. He wasn't using it that year, and each complex had so many taxi drivers. And because we were Irish, the late taxi driver was always we were always his last run. So he got to know us, and he knew that everybody else was asleep because he'd taken everyone else home in the complex. So he was like, you are the only people still awake. He would ring us and go like, where are you? And we're here, and he actually turned up one night. The second last night we were there, he actually turned up in the bar that we were at, because he was to lift us from like a mainstream bar, and I ended up talking to like a 7-foot guy with a beard, something close to Richard's, and built, as we would call, like a brick shit house. This man's the bouncer,
Oh, like Richard's big beard.
Massive beard, shaved head. This guy you would not mess with. This guy's like a brick wall. And I ended up having the crack with him and telling him, last night, and he was like, oh, I've got a great place. We went out. He had a fucking Tesla. Didn't even have a fun Jeep or anything. I'm thinking F550 or something. Fucking Tesla, right? And whenever,
oh my god,
the
fake lumberjack.
Yeah, the taxi driver, I rang him, and I was like, no, you don't need to come and lift us. We're going to an after hours bar, and there's a lock-in, and I'll give you a ring and let you know where we are when we get the address. It's called such and such. And he was like, are you sure? I was like, no, it's good, it's grand. We're going with this big guy, nothing will happen. When we walked in, it was the biggest hick bar I'd ever seen in my fucking life. The taxi driver actually turned up and played pool with us for about an hour because he was worried for our safety. It was like my girlfriend was not comfortable at all, but I sat and played pool with the locals. It was good fun.
You said pool, right? Like pool with the ball and
with
the stick?
With the stick, yeah.
For some reason, it sounded like he took off the L to me, and it was like I played poo with the. I was like, pool, right? Pool. Okay.
Yeah, I could see that. It's the accent, but it's one of the things that people comment most of the time that we're here. We do also have good content. I hope you're enjoying the content, but everybody says you have a lovely voice.
You can read to me, MathPig, any day.
Tony Designs I don't know if he's there or not. He's probably not. He's probably Modern Day Debate is doing his first after party in Discord tonight. And even though I'm fucking the full admin on the thing and set it up, I couldn't be there because of this, and I sort of dumped Tony in it. I was texting people going, can you help Tony out? Can you help him out? But no, poor Tony. Tony's a good lad. He loves it whenever I say and go full Irish accent and go, stay away from me Lucky Charms.
That's pretty good.
Potato and all that sort of, top of the morning and all that there. There you go. Lots of sound bites. Well, we've been going for an hour. Is there anybody in the chat that would like to join us? That's usually what we do here. I don't know. I didn't warn you that, but I think you've seen some of this, Spackle. You understand what the crack is, and I don't
Yeah.
think you're afraid. So if there's anybody, Peter or John or anybody that I know is safe wants to come in, just let me know in the chat with a tag, and I'll tweet it to you. I'll get it to you. We'll do
In the
something.
in the meantime, fun fact: I was homeschooled as a kid. I know, right? It explains why I'm a nerd. And
Well,
and
it can go either way, and that it can go either way. And you know, you are credit where credit's due, Spackle. You've said some words tonight that I had to think about. You're very intelligent when it would come to the philosophy and that sort of thing, and defining your terms.
so I'm learning more about philosophy, but I'm around people that are better at it than me. So like I've sparred with the sock account and lost, and and that's okay because I come out a bit better and I learn something new. And so I'm lucky because when I stuck on a position or something and I want to work something out or understand something, let me tell you, my experience with either Sokka's a bit wordy, so he'll throw a lot at you at once. But my experience with Ozzy is a little bit better, only because he tends to use analogies a lot, which work really well for me.
Yes.
So like my experience with Ozzy was that if you have a question about philosophy and you're reading something or learning something, like he can put it in terms that helps wrap your head around it or work out a problem. Or to even play devil's advocate and say, you know, well, this is what this, like, if I'm trying to understand, like, I remember the first time I met a moral anti-realist, and I was like, what does this mean? Like,
yeah, I was just about to say that for anyone who out there, yeah, explain that. If you could just give a quick explanation, or that's where you were going. That's what I mean. I was just thinking the exact same thing. The first time you hear it, you're like, what the hell is that?
My understanding is a moral anti-realist is somebody that believes that morals aren't really anything beyond your preference. like they're not really a thing in themselves. Like they're not something by themselves that exists. It's something that we invent, that we create, and it gets whittled down to your preference. Which is, I guess, a very sloppy way of describing it. And that's my understanding of it. But like I never knew that to even exist, because what I did know was objective morality, which Christians love to, you know, throw around, and subjective morality. But like there's all these other kinds of views. There's another one that's, it's not moral anti-realist. It's, what's the other one?
An anti-cognitist, or what is that?
Yes, yeah, and that one was something that was new to me about a year ago.
Yeah, like, Stephen is.
You know, and I was like, what is this? So, I mean, one of the things with philosophy is, like, every time you think you have an answer, or every time you think you've learned something, okay, I know this box and this box. It's always like, and it's overwhelming. Like, it's so overwhelming.
A moral, that's really going to annoy me. And sorry to interrupt, that's just really annoying me. A moral, real anti-cognitist or something, or whatever the hell that really annoying term is.
I can look it up. I know what you're talking about. Let me see.
It's word salad. That's why it's not worth a non-cognitive. I can't even say it, and it's written in front of me. A non-cognitivist. Tyler Durden's got it in the chat.
Yes, non-cognitive. Thank you.
You didn't say test. You didn't say the test. You skipped around that word. Go on.
Non-cognitivist. There you go. So I knew nothing about philosophy. You asked me about theology, and I can talk about theology. I can talk about like Christus Victor versus penal substitution. You want to talk about that? I'm down. And then all of a sudden, philosophy came in the room, and I was like, huh? You know, like what is this you speak of? What do you mean justified true belief? What are you talking about? And so like I still feel like I'm like a guppy in like this giant deep swimming pool with that. But I'm learning, and I think it's interesting. And so if you guys have any books to throw my way that aren't so deep that like I drown, you know, definitely you know, always like DM me or Holyspackle at gmail.com. You can always email me something that you think I should read because I think it's interesting. Psychology, I love psychology. By the way, it's if there is a hobby I'm into, it's that. But that doesn't mean that I am, a psychologist. I just think it's interesting. How people work is interesting to me. So that's why Messenger, and I understand some of his phrasing, why he says things because of things that I read. So, but yeah.
Well, you see, I really want to know more. I've got like the 101, and I couldn't have said that word and still can't. Doorknobhead has typed it out in the chat fucking phonetically. Cognitivist. There you go.
Cognitivist.
And I'd like to get better at it, and I would like to get a group of people together. This is what I'd like to do on a Sunday. Rather than doing the interviews, I'm sort of using them as a backup at the minute, and well, not a backup, but like a backup date. My thing was originally Tuesdays and Thursdays, but then there's so many people I want to talk to that I've started to do it on a Sunday as well. And I'd like to get a group of people together from all different points. I'd like to get at least one from each different point. I'm the agnostic. I have someone who's an atheist that said that they have an interest in possibly doing it. I did have a Calvinist, but we'll not go down that route, and that didn't work out. And I'd like us to discuss the topic from different points of view, and then maybe at the end of the month argue at it and try and make your point from your point of view.
If you want, I can make recommendations a little bit. If you want a philosophical discussion that somebody may break it down in simpler terms, I think Ozzy can break down philosophy in simpler terms. And maybe Bert Toll, but he's not around as much.
Big fan of Alex Malpass. I've always enjoyed watching him. Ozzy was good.
Harder to chew on. He's almost a little bit more tougher to chew on. You have to kind of reel him back sometimes.
What was that guy? I can't remember his name. He was on Skylers there quite recently as well. Recently, his last couple of months, he went up. I can't remember him. It's not Ozzy. It's not Alex. It's the other one. It's the three of them, and I can never remember his name.
Other one. Not Nick Suter.
No, not Nick Suter.
Who won't? He qualifies himself and says, "I'm not a philosopher," which I appreciate.
Right. Well, that was random, so that's what we'll do for the last 15-20 minutes. Right. Go on. Give your drama. You've been holding it back all night. Go on. Get your drama off your chest. Where'd Nick Suter come from?
Someone's gonna tell me I tried to ambush you. You stop it, MathPig. I did not try to ambush you.
No. It's this is, well, I would read people, and it's you've been holding back. Go on. Let it all out. Out. You've got friends all around you.
So, I'm not a fan of Steve McRae, and people know this. So Steve McRae is somebody that I do get really mouthy on Twitter. And that's because he presents an alternate reality as fact. And Red's Rhetoric also supports his alternate reality because those two are thick. They're just like this to each other. And and I would say that there's a troll list that you can block, and I'm on it. And Cheshire has published her troll list. And by the way, I'm on it, and you can block me if you like. But I would say this. How about this? Talk to anybody and everything, and you decide the truth for yourself. And you decide who's who and what players are, who's honest, who's dishonest. If you care, if you don't care, whatever. Don't not talk to people. Don't believe people when they say they don't have a narrative, because everybody has a narrative. If you have a perspective, you're going to have a viewpoint. And that viewpoint is perhaps closer to fact than fiction, or closer to fiction than fact. But when somebody proclaims that they have the only fact, the only narrative, and they don't, I'm sorry, that they don't ever spin a narrative, don't believe them. They do. I recently watched a hangout with yesterday with Red's Rhetoric, and he was saying, this is what happened in the GDC. G plus community that happened years ago. And I see Sokka in the chat going, I was there. That's not what happened, Red. You're lying. And then he was like, no, what I'm saying is fact. And because he's using a tactic that I see in a lot of Christian apologists, which is sort of, what's the word? Indignant righteousness, to be angry. Honestly, angry means that you are saying with such conviction that it must be true. And so he was saying, this isn't my opinion. This is fact. Don't listen to those people. Like you can listen to them. You can listen to other people. You can compare the opinions and perspectives. And I'm not going to like say like, you know, don't talk to anybody or don't listen to anybody, but the only group of people that are saying block people are not the TSTers, are not the Dragoons. Only people that are telling people to insulate themselves and block them and label people that are critical trolls, that's Steve McRae's group. So if you're at all a skeptic or a thinker or somebody that doesn't like dogma, talk to anybody and everybody you damn well please, and you sort the facts out yourself. Don't rely on other people. And that's all I got to say about that. You know, like figure out who people are by your experiences and you know, relate with people, and you come up with the facts yourself.
Well, from that point, on the topic of that, I haven't had a lot of people. I think I've been inadvertently labelled because there is a stream after Jim from Atheist Age left one of my streams. An interview I had with him, he then had one with Steve straight afterwards, and Steve said that I'm not a fan. I've said things that could be taken that way because Steve has done things that are not great, but other people and everybody, and we all fuck up. It doesn't necessarily mean that that person is my opinion of him. Whenever I first came to the community, it came through the non-sequitur. I had more respect for him than I had for Kyle, and I originally did go down the Steve route, you know, but when you go down that route, you keep going down one rabbit hole after another rabbit hole, and I've seen things that, you know, leaves me to just believe what I want to believe. But as we refer,
I can believe what I want. That's something Steve's been saying. I can believe that David Earl Warden, who's a convicted rapist, I can believe that he's innocent, but that's not the same as saying that somebody that a victim had consensual sex. That's not the same thing. Well, but I can believe what I want.
What I'm just saying is, right, I've had Nick Suter on. I have respect for Nick because that particular night David Worley had let me down. Well, not let me down. It was the same week that interview with the hard questions had happened, and he was very busy.
David?
Yeah, his hands were full.
Yeah,
his hands were full. So that was fine. I'm a tiny channel. It doesn't matter. Go and do something else. And he did come back and it was grand and we were fine. But Nick stepped in and I enjoyed the interview with him, and I would watch the in-time episodes for the political content with what's happening in America. I do enjoy them. The banter's quite good, and there's people in the live chat that I enjoy, you know, interacting with as well. Like, I just am trying to make it clear that nobody from that community is barred here. Nick's been welcome on. We're going to try and arrange another date where he can come on for more of a conversation. If Cheshire or Steve or any of them wants to come on, you know, just email me. You know, if they want to come on, put their point across or whatever, if they feel the need to, I don't give a shit. Like, I'm willing to talk to everybody. The point I'm trying to make is as holy as Spackle is put across, go and talk to the person themselves. You know, Jim Majors could be maybe put in that camp as well. He went out recently with them. I didn't watch the video personally myself. I haven't got round to it yet, but I have a lot of respect for Jim Majors as well. I think he's great, and he mentioned it to me one time. Are you Steve team? Are you Kyle's team? I was like, I'm team Jim.
Yeah, he's team Jim, but Jim Majors recorded in the Dragoon server and ended up getting booted. So.
Yes, and I know, yeah, and me and him have actually talked about that, and
Jimmy.
That's a whole conversation on its own. But yeah, no, go and talk to these people yourselves. Make your own decisions. If Cheshire or Steve or anybody or Red's rhetoric, well, the only condition is if Reds comes on, he has to like put on a really good rocket show. Haha, no pun intended. Because I do enjoy that content. I think the sciencey stuff on the rockets and all that with his P1000 is very, very good. I do enjoy them.
I think with Red, one of the things that I noticed on the California trip with Red, that's positive, if I could say something positive about Red, is when I talk to him about drones and camera work and stuff like that, because I do like photography and my husband's into drones. And so that combination, he lights up.
Yep.
Suddenly turns into somebody that's like a kid in a candy shop. And so if you can connect with him on that level, it's interesting because he's really good at that stuff. He is. He's really good at it. And if you enjoy production quality, if you enjoy camera work, if you enjoy that kind of stuff, like he's quite interesting to talk with. So I will throw him that accolade, even though I have many other criticisms. And I don't really want to. There's so much heavy talk right now in regards to Steve and stuff. And what happened to Science First was bloody unacceptable. And what's happened to Fiona being accused of something that is bloody unacceptable. That stuff just angers me and enrages me. But you know what? Like I was telling you earlier, MathPig, I'm not only drama. Like I have a life. Like I have a husband, I have a dog, I have activities outside of the internet that I like. I like the game, I like photography, I like hiking, I like outdoors stuff. I have pictures of me rappelling when I was in better shape. Like that stuff is all stuff that I like. And then I served in church for 15 years. I can talk to you about theology. I can talk to you about my experiences being in outreach and building a house in Mexico for people and all sorts of stuff like that. That stuff, in the end, in connection with human beings and talking and us kind of bantering back and forth about how you enjoy, mucking around in the stream with your daughter and stuff like that. Like that stuff is really more what life's about to me than than to be really mad and angry and bitter and frustrated because somebody said something that's completely a lie or completely warps the truth or they gaslight you and stuff. That stuff happens and it needs to be addressed. But I'd much rather have these conversations where we're connecting and we're talking about something that's a little bit more meaningful.
Yeah, it means more. In my personal opinion, getting to know the person actually, it means more in the long run. You can get to know the person better, and it gives you the context. I've said this before. It gives you context of what everything they say means. Because you've had that talk about the weather and this, that, and the other, and you know what that word means and what the context of that sentence is and what that story is, and you get to know the actual person. I like as you said, the hateful things that happen, the vitriolic things that happen, usually come from debates. Everything comes down to a debate. It's you or me, tribalism, back and forth. And I don't like to use the word debate. I like discussions because discussions and conversations are far better than fighting over shit. And anybody wants to come on, welcome to come on. Anybody wants to talk about anything, doing a shameless plug, but as of tonight, Dry Apologist and Carlton Winston is coming on this Saturday, which would be midnight UK, 7 p.m. Eastern, I think it is. And they're going to talk about the problem of evil and argument from contingency.
I like Dry Apologist, by the way. And he's a Catholic, just saying. But I've always, as Nephilim says, I'm a secret Catholic. So, so
I do get on well in text conversations with Dry Apologists, but Dry man, seriously, have some Lucozade or something before the interview. Pip pip pip, get a wee bit pippier.
Yeah, he's a little bit. Well, he does call himself the Dry Apologist. He's not false advertising.
No, that's it. It's very good with anyone who can be aware of themselves and know what their faults are. It's a very good thing. If you can't make fun of yourself and be comfortable with it, your life is going to be so goddamn hard. It's going to be so fucking hard.
Especially here. Anytime someone says something critical of you, like there's a lot of things that people are critical about, right? So especially once you show your face as a woman, I was talking about how for a long time I didn't want to show my face because I had gained weight and I'm embarrassed by it, and it took me a while to nerve up to even cam up, and it's when you put yourself out there, you are apt to get criticized in some way or another. So anytime you put out an opinion, anytime you put your face on a camera, I mean, there's a chance that somebody's gonna make fun of you or call you stupid or whatever. But like, I guess the key would be not to take yourself too seriously. like I agree. Like, if you take yourself too seriously, then you have to feel like you have to fight every injustice on the internet and every claim someone launches against you, and it's just exhausting. So like, you just kind of do you and try to be charitable and kind. And the only time I get really driven to fight the bad guys is usually it's a mosaic of things. It's a compilation of things that have added up that have finally made me kind of lose it and get frustrated. So
Yeah, best friend, worst enemy. Talk to people, get to know the people, until they actually cross you and have a justified reason. But yeah, simple as that. It's
except for Katie Polson, like, I actually looked at her and said, I don't like you. Like, that happens. But the reason why is because there was amount of, well, it's not my scene, right? She doesn't belong in the great debate. She doesn't belong in the God debate. That's not her scene, right? She's just like a tabloid kind of person, right? A columnist. So like what I looked at was, like, I glanced through her channel. I saw her talk a few times and went, that's right, I gotta dial in, and you not interested, next. like there are some times when you can kind of see somebody and just be like, for whatever reason, rational or not rational, you just know that they're not a good fit for you to really engage with. So
we see, that's the wonderful thing about, as I said to you, about avoiding stress and avoiding the mess on the internet. It's not like you've 6 channels on a TV and everything's set for you, so you have to scroll through them and there's a random chance of you coming across their content. You just unsubscribe. You don't look at it anymore. It's that simple. I don't know, maybe that's just what I do. If they're talking shit, or I don't give 2 flying fucks. You want to pick on me, make fun of me, I'm bald, I'm ugly, I'm Irish, I'm ginger. Great voice though. But
great voice. No.
But yeah, I don't give 2 flying fucks. You want to talk shit about me? Talk shit about me. The only thing I ask is talk shit about me to my face.
Yep. But you don't seem to be the type to take yourself too seriously. I mean, you take yourself seriously enough to want to put out some serious content and stuff like that. But after playing, was it Quippage? What do we call it?
Quiplash.
Quiplash, thank you. After playing Quiplash for you, I can tell you don't take yourself that seriously. You're definitely quick to make fun of yourself. So, and that's charming though, being able to laugh at yourself. That's why people like Jennifer Lawrence, because she's willing to make fun of herself. Like, she's willing to engage in a little bit of self-deprecation. I have a very sarcastic boss, and my sarcastic boss is so harsh. And eventually I started to engage in it back. And what I would do was I'd either be sarcastic back, or I would engage in self-deprecation,
Yeah.
And suddenly now we get along just fine.
Yeah.
Because I don't take myself that seriously. Yeah. I mean, I do a good job, but like I'm not as offended as I once was. Like, I'm just like, oh, this is how you are. This is how you cope. Okay.
Yeah, sort of a stoicism sort of idea. If it doesn't bother me, I don't give 2 flying fucks. If you look back at my Twitter, whenever I hit 200 subs, I was like, right, we're gonna do something. Like, does anybody want me to do anything? Will I sing in the bath like Nerdy Rodent does, or will we do what did Lucy Luxor do? What was it? The blush thing for the eyes? I can't remember. It was like a lotto thing. We end up wearing makeup and all that. And as like self-deprecating suggestions will be put to the top of the list. I don't care.
That would be a good fundraiser, by the way. Like, events like that where people either, because I was a youth leader for so long, we used to play like these Fear Factor kind of food games, and one was called You Pick It and We Mix It, and people would have a contest and there'd be a prize, but in their context, they would pick like behind what panel, like a panel, and behind the panel would be a food type. So it could be like, One could be like mac and cheese. Okay, not so bad. And the next one could be anchovies. And you have to mix them together. You know, and it gets like kind of like V8. V8 was another one. Everybody hated V8. and
Well, I would do spicy food, but that sort of thing, no, I can't eat fish. No, can't eat fish.
So Drag and Christopher Mowdy. If you haven't met Christopher Mowdy, I'd recommend Speaking of Psychology. If you enjoy psychology and connection and building bridges, he's really good for that. Drag and Mowdy had I don't know what you want to call it, a spice off where they were both like using this hot sauce.
Yeah.
And at the end of that, you could tell they were both suffering, like the tears were coming out. And the greatest thing was like, I'm thinking like, this is going to suck so bad when you have to go to the bathroom. Like, this is going to be so bad. But I mean, if you do something like that or the makeup thing for charity and stuff like that, like it's really funny how much people participate, and it kind of humanizes you. Like it reminds people that we're all kind of the same in that way. Like we're humanized.
Yeah, it brings you back to earth and lets you know exactly where you came from, what's going on, and I'd definitely be up for the spicy thing. I do. It's a genetic thing that runs down my father's line. I do sweat when I eat spice. It's like a priest in a Barney suit. It's a bit much, like, but I do like my spicy food. I put spice in everything.
Yeah, I don't know. A little bit of spice goes a long way for me. It doesn't take me long to be like, enough. Someone bring the milk.
I like to
because water doesn't help. Milk will help.
Oh yeah, you need milk. But I like to concentrate things. I've got like a clove of garlic in a small jam jar filled to the throat with olive oil, and if you take that lid off, in the entire ground floor, it's just garlic. It's just the entire oil is infused with it. Well, we've been going for an hour and a half. I really, really appreciate you coming on, Spackle. I really do. I think this was a great conversation, and I've definitely got to know you a lot better. It turns out, I know Spackle's only been on the channel for a wee while, but she did reach out to me back in, I think it was June or August.
A while ago.
Yeah, It was quite a wee while ago, and give me some tips around in drag server and who to talk to and stuff like that. So I even forgot about that when I went to have the conversation about this interview, and it was like, fuck, we actually do know each other for quite a while. But,
and you were so shy. You were like, I don't want to talk. And I'm like, no, like come on and talk. And then when you talked, I was like, oh my gosh, you have an awesome voice. And you were just so like, people aren't going to understand me. And everybody understands you. You're great. So
appreciate it. I really do. Switzerland will be buying some guns eventually when we get a little bit more comfortable. But as it stands, everybody right now, you know, anybody's welcome on the channel. Come on, put your point across, have the conversation, send me a link or send me an email. All's there. And yeah, I think we've pretty much covered everything. I want to just say thank you everybody for turning up. We've got to like 24 views, even with the atheist experience going. So that's yeah. My
Not
voice is that sexy. It's that sexy. Rory, God, Doorknob Head, Train Back, Lucy, Peter, everybody. Thanks loads for turning up. And a big whoop for Spackle, guest of tonight, guest of honour. We'll definitely see you about, and hopefully find someone to argue with. I've got this one debate. We need another one. Find someone who disagrees with you, Spackle.
Oh, who do I want to argue with?
Right. Well, on that note, yeah, we'll just say bye-bye and talk to everyone later. Bye.